Hi everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make a clay bobblehead pet. Bobbleheads have been around actually for a pretty long time. They became really popular in the 1920s to begin with, and they were made a lot for sports teams, for specific players. And they're still being made today. There's actually quite a few more today. They even have a bobblehead museum now. So basically, a bobblehead, you may have seen one before. The head is set so that it can bobble or wobble or move when you touch it. Now, the ones that they make today are mostly made with plastics, and a lot of times they'll have like a spring in there as well so that they move maybe a little bit more. These clay ones will move, but you have to be pretty careful with them. They're not as sturdy as some of the ones that you can buy. So when you make a clay bobblehead, I'm going to be using the the air dry clay from Crayola to do this. This clay works really well because you can kind of test the head on the body without it getting stuck. If you're going to make this with Model Magic or even maybe Play-Doh, you're going to want to be careful that you don't get the head stuck on the body. They will need to dry separately because if they're stuck together, then the head's not going to bobble. So you'll see the head is actually made like a pinch pot, so it's open inside. And then the body is made to come up towards like a point, like a cone, so that the head can rotate on it. So it's two different pieces. Now, I waited till this was dry to color it, and I colored it with watercolors. So I'm just going to show you how to build it. And if you want to color it, if you're using Play-Doh or Model Magic, you can just start with colors. If you're using this air dry clay that I recommend, then you need to wait till it's dry, and then you can paint it with either watercolors or acrylics or temperas. So to get started, you're going to want two pieces that are about the size of a fist, maybe a little bit bigger than a kiwi, maybe the size of a small apple. And then you're going to want a little bit of water to attach things with. And then I would like you to have a paper clip as well. You can see I've actually opened up just one end. You actually want to keep this loop on the other end here because this works really well for making the curves of the mouth. So only open up one end, and you'll be using actually both ends of this tool. So to get started, one of the big pieces is going to be just for the body. This other big piece you're going to use for the head, and then all the other attachments. So ears, eyes, nose, snout, feet, things like that. I've got a tail on this one and a collar. So to get started, we're going to start with the body first. So you want to kind of work this a little bit and get it into a ball and smooth it out. So rolling it in a circle on the table. And it's not going to stay a complete ball. So once you get it smoothed out, if you see some cracks, I would keep going. Then you're going to kind of shape it. So I always start by rolling it back and forth just a couple times to give it some height. I don't press down too hard here. And then I'm going to tap it to kind of flatten it on the bottom there. And then I'm going to work it up. So as you're working it up, you're not pressing down on the bottom, you're keeping that part wide, but you're working the top of it up towards sort of a cone shape. And the more pointy the cone is, the better it will work. So you're just kind of working it towards a smaller point at the top, and then keeping the body a little bit more round at the bottom. So once you've done that, you can set that piece aside. And then for the next part, you're going to actually take this big piece and you're going to split it in half. And half of it you're going to use to make the head. The other half you'll use for the other parts. So half of it you need to start rolling into a ball. And then once you've rolled it into a ball, you're going to want to push your thumb in and do that slowly. You don't want it to go through the other side. And then you're going to squeeze it. So once your thumb's in, you're going to squeeze just a little bit. You don't need to make it really thin because then it won't be very sturdy. But you do want to open it up just a little bit. Now, it's important to kind of make sure that the inside is smooth so that it will bobble a little bit more. If you get some cracks here, you can wet your fingertip and kind of smooth those out, but don't use too much water. So then you can test it. If you're using Model Magic, you can't really though, because then it'll get stuck. But with this, you can kind of test it and see if it's gonna sit on there. All right, so if it's gonna sit on there, then you're good. All right. So now I'm gonna start thinking about parts that I can attach. So I always like to start with the ears first. So I'm gonna pull off a couple of pieces here. Actually, I think I'm gonna do one piece and then kind of split it in half so they're close to the same size. Now you can make whatever pet you want. I like to make a dog because I have a dog at home. If you wanna make a cat, you can certainly make a cat. That's up to you. So when you are adding things with this air dry clay, I always recommend starting your attachment as a ball. And then for these ears, I usually press it down on the table and kind of shape it. So I'm just kind of pinching it and getting it into an ear shape. And that way it stays flat on the bottom, so it's a little bit easier to attach. So like I said, press it on the bottom. You can have round ears, you can have pointy ears, you can have floppy ears, that's up to you. So I'm making pointy ears. I think that one needs a better point there. And then once I'm ready to attach these, what I'm gonna do is I just use my paper clip, the pointy end, and I dip it in the water a little bit. And then I just kind of make these little lines on there. And then I stick it on. And then same thing for the other ear. So you can also do your fingertip to add more water if it's not enough water, and then do the lines, but that helps attach it. So the water is really important to use. It's like a slip, that's what we call it, and that will hold it together. So then you can kind of look at the ears and decide, you know, I was thinking maybe about doing the little fold over on the ear there on one of those, and then kind of shape them the way you want them. And then you can move on to the face. So for the face for your pet, you can do eyes. You can make them oversized, or you can make them regular. That's up to you. I usually do 2 pieces. So I start with a larger ball first, like this, and then press it flat on the table. I don't press it flat on there because I don't want to smush the head. And then you can add your score mark lines, add a little water, and then you have to be kind of careful when you lift these up. If you press them down too hard, they might be stuck forever. So then I can add on that part of the eye first. Now at this point, if you want, you could just put like a little dot in the middle, or you can add a second tinier circle in the middle. So for something this small, I usually just kind of wet it and then press it on there. So you can make kind of the center of the eye that way as well. So that ball just has to be a little bit smaller. And then just a little bit of water and press it on. Those usually hold on fine because they're pretty small. And then if you want, you can use the end of the paper clip and you can put a dot in the middle. So usually I kind of rotate it a little. So push it in, then rotate it. So then once you're done with the eyes, you can make the nose. Now you can add just a nose or you can do a snout. So that's what I've done here. So again, starting with a ball and rolling that ball. And then for this one, I still want to press it flat, but I don't want to press it too flat. And this one's a little bit larger, so I would definitely kind of add those score marks on that piece, and then a little bit of water with your finger. And then press that on. Make sure you support it from behind when you're pressing it on, or else you might squish the whole head. So then I can add a smaller nose, and that smaller piece I might just put on with some water and press it on. And if you want to add on the nostrils, you can use the paper clip again, kind of add those on. For the mouth, I told you I like this, keep this end here. This works really well for the mouth. So I'm going to hold it from the inside, And then what I do is I make the curves with the end, and then I can finish it in the middle with the pointy part. And that makes a nice smooth mouth. All right, so once your head's done, you may want to attach some things to the body as well. You can do front feet. You can do front feet and back feet if you want. So you don't need too big of a piece to add on feet. If you wanted to add on the actual legs, you could do them going down the front here, and that would be okay. Just make sure if you're going to start with the feet, you're starting with a ball. If you want to make the legs, you might want to roll a short coil to do it. So then I would press these a little bit flat on the table first and score them. And then add a little water on, and then put them on the front. And if you want to make, you know, the kind of the lines, you can use the side of the paper clip for that. If you want to add on back feet, which I didn't do that on mine, I would probably put them kind of like that so that they stick out. So you might want to roll those a little different, roll them back and forth a few times. And then you can attach them on like that, like he's sitting on his back foot. So that would stick out like that. If you want to add a tail, you can certainly do that as well. I wouldn't make it too long though. It's going to need to be a short tail or even a round tail that will hold on well. So you're going to want to press the bottom of this piece against the table to get it flat, and then score it. Add some water, and then kind of near the bottom there. Then you can shape it if you want to make it look like it's wagging. You can do that kind of stuff as well. Or if it's a cat and you want to make it really long and skinny, you might want to do something where it kind of curls back against the body there so that it doesn't fall off. Kind of like that. So once you have those parts there, if you want to add a collar, you are going to want to roll like a skinny coil. So something really skinny that you can wrap around the neck. Be careful though, if you put it too high, it's going to be under your head. So you may have to check and kind of see where your head comes down to, and then that way you know where you can put the collar on. With the collar, you don't necessarily have to attach it to the body, but you do want to make sure that the ends come together, or else it will probably fall off. And then I always like to press it a little bit flat. I think that makes it easier to paint. And then if you want to add like a tag or something, you can do all of that as well. Then it's really important to let it dry. So you can, if you're using the air dry, you can kind of check it to make sure everything's going to fit. Once you've got it the way you want it, then it's important to leave the two parts separate and let them dry. And then once they're dry, you can paint them. All right, I hope you have fun. I'll see you later.